post this on the website, and it's on you, sir.
Okay, excellent. Let me get the screen shared here. Did that share or not?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, did it? Okay, I don't have the big green box. Okay, we're going to be short and sweet tonight. I'm going to talk about dead balls, stick checks, last 2 minutes of the game, and then say again. Nitton's got three-man mechanics we'll go over. I think there's a basketball game on tonight, so we'll try to get you guys out of here when we can. Okay, dead ball officiating, one of the most important things we do. If you look at this clip, there's a well-known official on the left signaling a touchdown or a goal or something, and that guy from Cleveland State is walking in probably to tell the Notre Dame kids what a great job they did. Hey, Nitin, did you witness this one in person?
Yeah.
Just kidding on it. Dead ball officiating. There are certain times in the game when you really got to be cognizant of what's going on. Before the game, obviously, after the game, during fouls, there may be retaliation going on after goals. Obviously, when you have injuries, the ball's dead, kids do what they do. A lot of times they'll just take a knee, so it's not a problem. But anytime the ball's out of bounds, between periods, timeouts, these are all key times when you really have to be alert to what's going on. Obviously, officials come together and talk, but when you do that, you really have to pay attention to what the players are doing. First thing you want to do with the dead ball is get your timer on. You know, if it's a timeout, if it's between periods, get your timer on so the dead ball ends when it's supposed to end. Obviously, you don't time out of bounds. Various things like that. But dead ball officiating many times tends to be more reactive than proactive, right? Something's going to happen, you're going to have to react to it. Now, if you're proactive during the game, you might be able to prevent some of these bad situations during dead balls, but the most important thing is let them know you're there, right? Get between the colors. When teams are crossing, timeouts, end of quarters, somebody really should be at midfield watching the teams cross. Usually the trail or the single's in a good position to do that, but let them know you're there. You know, communicate to the players. We talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about positive as well as constructive communication with the players, right? Anticipate what's going to happen. If somebody just got a big hit and you throw a flag and kill it, anticipate there might be retaliation as you kill the ball or kill the play. So these are all things to watch for. And then obviously, let's get the field set so we can get the game going again. Most of the fouls fall into these categories, the dead ball fouls, right? You're going to get late hits, conduct fouls, unsportsmanlike, illegal cross, illegal equipment. You're going to find that during dead ball situations, delay a game. Sometimes the fights start during a dead ball situation. The late hits are a key one that we want to talk about, right? Because depending on how late it is, it's either going to be a live ball foul that you're going to judge as a little bit late and penalize it one way, or a dead ball foul after a goal, for example. If that ball's already in the net and you flag it, that's a dead ball foul, and technically there should not be a face-off. Likely situations, if you have a blowout game, the trailing team may take offense to what's going on. This happens quite a bit during playoffs, right? One of the teams is going to be done. If they're getting blown out, they may decide there's no reason to play lacrosse anymore and start playing football or some other sport. Tightly contested games. There could be some trash talking going on. These are all situations that could lead to something escalating. Rivalry games are great for that. A lot of these kids play with each other in the summer and they trash talk out there, just various situations that can escalate. After other dead ball fouls, many, many times we catch the second offender, right? Somebody did something and somebody retaliates. That's the one that we normally see. We've got to be alert and catch the first one for sure, and then hopefully both of them. Hard fouls, cheap shots, players jawing at each other, coach being out of control. These are all likely situations where you may have to either step in or start throwing flags. Late hits. This is the one I wanted to talk a little bit about. Is the ball dead or alive, right? If a player shoots and scores and gets hit, the ball's already in the net, that's a dead ball foul. And by rule, there is no face-off. If the player shoots, gets hit, and then scores, that's a live ball foul. And there's a very fine line between those two. But as John Vetter will tell you many times, the coach is already going to be pissed off that he got a goal scored on him.
Yeah.
If you enforce that as a dead ball foul, he's also not going to have a face-off. It's a fine line, but if it's very late, the ball's in the net, that's a dead ball foul, and there is not going to be a face-off. So you got to be cognizant of the game situation on this. And then what is a late hit, right? Illegal body check, targeting, unsportsmanlike conduct. I put a note there. Two non-releasable unsportsmanlikes are an ejection. There's a few releasable unsportsmanlikes in the book this year. Be aware that if you get a releasable unsportsmanlike and a non-releasable unsportsmanlike, that is not a player ejection. Two non-releasables are. So be aware of that. And then obviously you've got the 5 rule for player disqualification, right? 5 minutes of personal fouls. Preventative. Talk in pregame. Where are you going to set the bar? You have 2 very physical teams. You may decide to let them play a little bit, little pushing, obviously nothing illegal. But as you get up in the ranks, the better teams like to play physical. If you have a team that plays very physical and a team that doesn't play physical, then the bar needs to be set somewhere else. But you need to talk in pregame about where you're going to set the bar and then set the bar early. The coaches and the players will all adjust based on that first flag. Now they know where the line is, what they can get away with, what they can't get away with. It may not be the same from game to game depending on the teams. But that first flag is very key to letting everybody know where the bar is set. Make sure you're communicating. D-Ray talked a little bit about letting players know, hey, you know what, 26, nice job pulling up on that. You could have really creamed him, but you didn't. Do some preventative officiating. Hey, 34, that screen, if you made contact, that would have been an illegal screen. Make sure your feet are set. Preventative communication with the players, and then keep the game moving, right? As soon as you blow the whistle, the game's underway. If you're jawing or a coach is jawing at you, blow the whistle and you got to get out of it. Obviously, answer his questions, get back to him if you need to. But the more we keep the game going, the less chance we have for dead ball fouls. Preventative officiating, and then we talked a little bit about this. Actually, I think Nitin will talk about this. There's nothing that says if you're in a 3-man game that you can't rotate away from the coach, right? If the coach is just chewing on you, switch with the single side. Go run single side a while. Let him calm down. You can calm down. There is no hard and fast rule about rotation in 3-man. There's some suggestions of the way you rotate, but if you're just taking heat, get out of there. There's no reason to escalate a situation. Let everybody calm down. Shot out of bounds. These are just some mechanic things. Chase the shot to the end line, obviously, but then you've got a dead ball. As 2 different situations happen, if the ball's going back to the offense during that dead ball situation, the lead needs to get back to goal line before restarting play. Very quick pass out of X in front of the crease, and you got a shot. In other cases, the single going to cover in. If you have a contested situation at the end line, single can come in and cover that. Again, various dead ball situations. Talk about these in pregame, how you want to do goal coverage. If we are going the other way, dead ball situation, ball's going to the defense, they're going to end up in a clear. The lead and single can start heading out of there. Obviously, you can't bail. You need to still pay attention to what's going on, but you can get a little head start on it. So know the dead ball situation, know who's going to get the ball, know where the important parts of the field are. Do we need to cover the goal, or are we going to be in a clear? And now we got to pick up what's going on with the clear in terms of players coming on and off. Stick checks. Some recommendations for this year. 2021 IHSA says officials should wear gloves for stick checks. Up to you, but this is what IHSA recommends. Limit the stick checks to 1 per half. And then they're asking the coaches to limit their stick checks as well. So try to stay away from the players as much as you can is the goal here. Recommendation, don't do pregame stick checks, right? There's no reason to have 20 kids lined up in front of you wanting their sticks checked. That just puts everybody too close to each other. Sanitize your hands, put a bottle of sanitizer in your pocket, use it whenever you need to, and then try to stay away from people, right? Physical distance is the best way to keep everybody safe. Couple things on stick checks. Agree in pregame how you're going to do them. There just tends to be confusion at times with stick checks, right? Who's going to get the ball? Does the single get the ball and the lead and the trail get the nearest bench? Does the umpire get home? The field judge gets the visitor, and then you find a ball at the table. Just talk about how you're going to do stick checks before the game so everybody's on the same page. What you really want to avoid is going into a huddle and trying to pull a stick out. That just doesn't look good. And then the other thing that can happen is one official gets a stick and the other one doesn't. Don't ever check just one stick. If you end up with one stick, just give it back and don't bother checking sticks. But if everybody knows what they're supposed to do and who they're supposed to get a stick from, you shouldn't have a problem. As the teams cross, watch them cross. That's a great time to grab sticks. You might want to have one official grab 2 sticks. If the official that's supposed to get the home team is nowhere around, still down at the end line, have who's ever there grab a stick from each team and check them. Obviously, if there's a certain stick that needs to be checked, the coach can ask for that. The item on 5.5D is an item that we don't see a whole lot. The younger players sometimes doing it without knowing it, but tell the kid not to touch the stick. If you ask for a stick, tell him not to touch it. If he adjusts the strings, and if you've never seen a cross that's adjustable, some of these pockets have a pull string on them, and they'll just grab the pull string and tighten the pocket up on you. That's going to be a 1 minute unsportsmanlike if you see them do that, and then you're still going to check the stick. Very rarely does it happen. Usually the kids want to pound the net down. Just tell them not to touch the stick. Hand it to you. 5.5 also says every cross on a team is subject to inspection, and the cross need not have been in the game to be inspected. This has gone back and forth in terms of the coach has to call for an equipment check on a player. They made it very clear in the rule book now. If there's a cross sitting on the bench, the coach can ask for that cross to be checked. So as Tom says all the time, these coaches with their college sticks that have the heads way too tight, if that's sitting on the sideline, the opposing coach can ask to have it checked. Doesn't happen too much, but it does happen. Obviously, do the quick tests. Remember the shooting string test, right? 4 inches. The stick on the left is going to be illegal. Those 2 orange strings are shooting strings, and they are more than 4 inches from the top of the cross. Measure the depth. In high school, tape is legal unless they bring the stick out for a face-off. So kids can have tape on their sticks. They can have the tape ring on their sticks. That's not illegal for a field player. Hanging strings, 2 inch. If they're longer than that, tell them to cut them, no penalty. Just reinforce these things. We've been off the field for a long time, and some of these things may not come back to you until you see it on the field. Advice, if the ball sticks when you do the roll test, roll it again. Make sure you're facing away from the bench, because the first time you roll it and the coach sees the ball stick in there, he's going to want the flag. Maybe you just rolled it too slow. Put the ball in and roll it again. If it comes out the second time, the stick is legal. And you don't want anybody to see the first check if it doesn't come out. I like to return the cross to a player or a coach. Some guys toss them on the ground. I'm always afraid somebody's going to step on it and break the stick, and I'm going to have to buy the kid one. But walk over, usually you can find anybody. It's, hey, this belongs to 24. Could you give it back to him? So personal preference, I always just like to give it back to somebody on that team. 2-minute non-releasable is the penalty for illegal sticks. It can be fixed, can be returned to the game. You don't need to prove it. If you have a situation like is in the picture, walk over to the table with the ball stuck in there. That way you don't have to prove it to anybody, but many times the coach wants you to prove that it's illegal. You don't have to do that. If you judge it to be illegal, throw the flag, signal it, let both coaches know the situation. One coach is going to be man up, one's going to be man down, assuming there's nobody in the box. But it's very important that you let the coaches know how we're going to restart the game. And then all sticks may be fixed and returned to the game. Now, it's on the kid. If he brings the stick back in and he gets checked again and it's still illegal, there's nothing that says you can't check a stick more than once. If it's illegal the second time, it's illegal the second time. He gets another 2 minutes non-releasable. And then the final slide I have is the last 2 minutes of the game. Many times the most important piece of the game, regardless of if it's a blowout or a tight game. One of the things that you should have talked about in pregame and reinforced it at the end of the game is which official has the clock. It's critical to know when that clock goes off, because somebody needs to know if the shot's released or not. So make sure somebody's got an eye on the clock. And if it's not a tied game, know which net matters. If one team is down by 1 goal, the net they are shooting on is critical. If somebody scores in the net at the other end of the field, then that team's up by 2 goals. Game's over. But if there is one net that's critical, make sure you have that goal covered. You don't want to be late to a goal, to getting to the goal line on the goal that the ball's going in after the buzzer goes off. Rivalry games. Many times one team is going to start riding the other. We beat you. The Battle of Hinsdale, the Battle of Naperville, all of these teams. In a blowout game, who should have the ball? If the team that's winning the game has the ball, the other team may end up beating on them just trying to get the ball loose. The team that's losing, if they have the ball, you're probably not going to have that situation. They may not be able to score, but at least you're probably not going to have any fouls. Obviously, you can't do anything to determine who has the ball, but just be aware, if the team that is up has the ball, the other team's going to try to get it away from them. Many times you see some sticks come out that you've never seen before in the game, and the ball's not going to come out. It's just a pinched head, and they bring it in the last 2 minutes of the game, and nobody's ever going to get the ball out there. Be aware of those situations in a tight game. Who's going to get the ball? What play are they going to run? You've probably seen the play already. You know who their leading scorer is. What are they going to run and try to get the ball to their scorers? If you've been paying attention in the game, you may know all this stuff. Who they're going to get the ball to? What are they going to run? When's the timeout coming? Somebody should be near the coach. Usually as they cross midfield is when he's going to take his timeout. So make sure you're close enough, or at least be listening. Let the coach know that you're listening for his timeout. If he's going to call a timeout, give it to him immediately. End of the season. One team is done. They may decide their season's over, no reason to play lacrosse anymore, let's play football. Be cognizant that one team in the playoffs is advancing. If you have a situation at the end of the game where a fight starts and you toss 2 people out, 1 from each team, then that team advancing, that player cannot play next week. Unsportsmanlike conducts are probably a better way to handle those situations at the end of the game. Just get the kids into the penalty box for a period of time and get them off the field. Who's looking for that last big hit? And then most importantly, how do we get off of the field? which way we going, who's grabbing the jackets. Let's just get out of there. So that's everything I put together. Any questions, comments? Okay, let me stop the share and we will get it over to Nitin and we will run through some three-man mechanics.
Hey, real quick, Bob, before Nitin starts, Nitin setting up, keyword for today will be dead ball. It's an important part of officiating. So go ahead and throw the keyword dead ball in the chat, and Nitin will be working on three-man mechanics. Thank you.
Good.
Can you all see that?
Yep, it's up.
Great. So I'll go through this real quickly, guys, because I like watching basketball as well. So I will try to be thorough, but brief but thorough, I guess. So three-man mechanics, U.S. lacrosse has these sort of pillars. I don't want to get too much in this. I'll talk about it when we go through the slides, but think about this as I'm going through the slides. One, your positioning, where you need to be in the field. Two, sort of how you can maintain the safety of all the players by your positioning on the field. And actually, would say the safety of yourself. Three, what we're always judged by, in my opinion, how fair are we? What is deemed fair? When you're in the proper position to make calls, you have the ability to be seen as being fair and also consistent. What you deem as a slash in the second quarter is what you deem as a slash in the fourth quarter, or what you deem as a slash against the home team is what you deem as a slash against the visiting team. So all that sort of consistency that we strive for is officiating. So looking at some of the responsibilities. So we have the lead, single, and trail. So you guys who do mostly two-man, or all of us who do two-man because there's not enough officials, you're going to see this, the third person, the single, is such a huge help in many different ways. But let's first talk about a little bit sort of where we want to be here. The lead here wants to be, let me see if I get this. The lead here is, I like to work, to me they have the lead here a little bit too low, but you can get this low if there's a player down there. I like to work a little bit up here, about GLE or about a step above GLE to see the ball go into goal actually. But sometimes you need to go back here if there's a contested play. The lead official, the goal is their primary responsibility. They're generally one step above or below the GLE, and they cover the end line and contested plays. By that I mean a shot that goes to the end line, as Bob talked about. Guys, a lot of times I see there's two players down here, an offensive player and a defensive player, and the lead is up here. How do we know if he gets pushed out of bounds? So the lead has to come down there and help out to see that action on the end line. The single official sort of assists lead, and I always liken it to sort of if the lead and single had a rope on their stomach, tied to their stomach together. As one comes in, the other goes out, and vice versa. So the single official is primarily responsible for the action in front of the crease. He also watches for late hits after the shot. So the single has the shooter. If you remember one thing, if you're the single official and you have the shooter 99.8% of the times, you will be in great shape as a single to protect you from late hits. The single has this sideline over here, the far sideline, and all passes, shots, plays over here. And to me, like I said, the single and lead work together. If the lead goes down here toward the end line, the single is going to make his way up toward GLE to cover that goal. If the ball's out here and single goes out here, you want to keep the players in between you. Lead's going to come crashing in. If lead's over here at a contested play, single's going to come in. So you guys kind of work together in tandem. The trail official has a whole lot of other stuff. First, the trail official, as he comes up, we'll talk about later, sort of takes a look at the box. We call it sweeping the box in the old days. But the trail official watches for the shooter as well as a single. So we have a shooter here, anywhere. The trail should get his eyes in it. Watches for the high crease area. I had a play the other day, actually, where I was trail, probably further than this person was, and there was a push in the back here. And I don't think single, the defender came from way away to push him. I could have had a legal body check. But I had a whistle from trail on a push in the back that ended the guy in the crease. It's just something that you may see because it opens up to you and nobody else. you watch for, as I mentioned, you watch for substitutions. And of course, if that ball, there's a turnover here, as many times there is in lacrosse, and they go with it, trail, you're making that 60-yard sprint to the opposite GLE to cover the goal. Let's move on, hold on. So on-off responsibility, as we kind of talked about a little bit, I talked about a little bit in my last slide. In this scenario, the single has the primary on-ball responsibility with the player here carrying the ball. While this is going on, lead should be looking in here to make sure the crease is clear. You'll see coaches say, they're holding my guy, they're not letting him cut, whatever the case is. Lead here has all that in front of him, as well as trail. A little piece of preventative officiating here as lead. We could be using our voices here as saying, "Hey, blue, let them cut. 32, let them cut." I think in my 14 or 15 years of officiating, I might have called interference 5 times here. I'm not saying it doesn't happen more, but if you use preventative officiating, we could stop a lot of this stuff here. Lead also too, you'll see offensive players chuck guys into the crease away from the ball. And I see a lot of times we as officials will call a crease violation when really we probably should have interference on the defensive team. In this scenario too, trail's looking in and all this stuff is here as well. We'll walk through the ball transitions and sort of responsibilities to start transitioning as well also. So in this scenario, the offensive player carrying the ball toward the goal. The single side is following him in. Lead is taking a step or two down as that person carrying the ball makes his way around the crease. Trail is taking a step down and potentially out or in, depending on where that ball is going. They're trying to get a better view as well. So we have a scenario here where, again, like I mentioned, the offensive player carrying the ball is bringing the ball behind the crease. So another tip here, guys, is if I'm working with somebody, I may just talk to them and say, if I'm single, saying, I got it, Bob. And then when the ball goes away, Bob, he's yours. So we're not both watching the ball. It's hard, guys. We all love watching the ball. We all love seeing great plays. But the beautiful thing about a 3-man officiating or even 2-man officiating is you have to watch everybody else, because all of a sudden something happens in front of the crease. A guy gets chucked into the crease. Something happens with a player being held. A guy gets a stick jammed in his midsection in the middle of the field, and we have no idea because everybody's watching the ball, and we just can't have that. So if we can communicate here, that helps a lot. That helps alleviate a lot of this stuff. And again, the guy's carrying the ball. He's coming over. Lead's backing out because we want to keep the players in between us. We don't want the players running in between us. It happens at times. These kids are fast. We're not as fast. We get stuck. Singles crashing in toward the goal crease, as I mentioned before. They kind of work in tandem. Picture you having a rope on your stomach, tie it together as one goes in, one goes out. And Trail's taking a step toward the sideline as well because he needs to get a wider view and to keep the players in front of him as well. Now we have the ball carrier attacking the goal, and we're all kind of closing down here. Lead's following the ball carrier in. Trail's closing down a few steps. And single is probably backing out a few steps because like to keep the players in front of him as well. So let's walk through another scenario where we have a goal scored. Here's a situation where we have a goal scored. Lead gets the ball, the goal, gives the signal, the Dave Croc signal that Bob Walters showed earlier, which, by the way, we could also look, if there's action in front of the crease, we don't have to look straight ahead and give the picturesque pose. We could kind of look at what's going on and still give the goal signal. Lead's going to get the ball out. He becomes the new single side who administered the face-off. We have Lead grabbing the ball. And here's sort of the rotation. Lead takes the ball with him. He hustles to the midline for the face-off. It's one of my pet peeves. Let's get the game going as fast as possible. The single now becomes the lead left. This is what we call the person, if you're looking for the bench facing in, the lead left. The lead right becomes the new, I guess we call him the field judge here. Since lead left assist, he's sort of the third person looking at the wing players here. And then we have a face-off situation. Now we have a goal scored the other way. It's a little bit, it's pretty much the same. here. Lead scores the goal, gives the goal signal, takes the ball with him, busts his behind to the 50, becomes the faceoff guy. The old single becomes the new, I guess they say, the field judge, and the old trail just steps over the 50 and becomes the new lead left to assist with the faceoff. In this scenario, we have a ball. We have the faceoff's been completed. The ball kicks out toward the lead left official. The lead left official becomes the new lead. The faceoff official becomes the new single, and the third official, who's assisting on the wing line, or they call him the field judge at the start of the game, becomes the new trail. One thing here I would do is I'd slow down a little bit. They have the trail kind of jumping there fast. My first step would be right to the box here to make sure the subs are legit and legal. You can stay here for 15, 20 seconds until all the subs take place. You don't have to be in a hurry. That's the beautiful thing too about having the third official. You still have two sets of eyes in the field. And what I like to do is trail, especially with guys that I haven't worked with as much. Those 15, 20 seconds later, when I come in and all the subs have cleared, I'll step in, run in, and say, if Bob Walters is lead and Tom Cummings is single, I might scream at Bob saying, Bob, I'm in. So Bob knows he could keep his vision that's going up to here, looking at plays, look at the ball, might turn back into here, and I can sort of take care of this stuff as well. One thing to note as well, just because I'm trail at the box, I can still keep my eyes on the field of play. If there's a contested situation here, that's you. That's not these guys. You got to take care of this. Substitutions become secondary. You still can stand here, but this is your play still. Ball to the wing official in this scenario, or what we call the lead right. He becomes the new lead. The faceoff man is crashing the goal as a single, and the trail, again, I would back up here, make sure the box, sometimes it's really odd. You're kind of stepping backwards to make sure the subs come in clean, and you're there monitoring the sub box. Again, in this case, you're looking at the ball. The ball's in front of you. You got to keep your eye on the ball a little bit to make sure there's no illegal play. You might get ridden out of bounds, might be a cheap shot. Whatever the case is, you still have to have action of that while you're kind of looking at the subs out of the corner of your eye. Crease play, as we talked about, single and lead are crashing in on this at all times. It's a beautiful thing. If we have a play here let me go back to that once. Single has the ball carrier. If that's a shot right there, single has a shooter, lead has the goal to make sure that ball crosses the plane of the goal. In this scenario, lead's following the person with the ball in as he goes behind the crease. And this is where I'm communicating to my single side. I got him. And then as he goes around, I may tell single, hey, Bob, he's yours. That's just a tip for me. Some people work differently, but I like to communicate so we're not both watching the ball. And while I'm looking here at lead, looking at the ball handler, carrier, single's looking in the goal to make sure everybody here is letting people cut. There's no interference. There's nobody stepping into the crease. There's nobody falling into the crease, whatever the case may be. So a little more three-man. Another beautiful thing about three-man is the ability to catch offsides. I think it's really difficult in the two-man game to catch offsides, unless you're an expert counter like Tom Cummings maybe. But for the rest of us peons, it's just more, it's really difficult when you have to watch the ball and attempt to watch offsides. Three-man sort of alleviates a lot of that. So we have a situation here. We have a change of possession. The ball carrier is bringing the ball over. It's a slow break. So the guy's bringing the ball over. Single here is waiting for a second or two, maybe even longer, as he carries that ball over. If I'm single here, and I'm sure this has been discussed about in another presentation, I'm counting ahead of me. So I'm counting, we'll say this guy's a red. 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4 red, 5 red. Okay, this is the sixth guy bringing the ball over. If I'm counting 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4 reds, 5, 6, and this guy's 7, you know we're going to have offsides. And this will happen especially when you have a long pole bringing the ball over at times, and the middies don't realize this, and they go over as well. But you have to be attuned to that, and counting ahead sort of alleviates a lot of that situation. Trail has sort of secondary offsides. You'll see when that ball clears, single eventually will go. Trail will have the ability to still count as I sweep the box or stay at the box. I'm still counting. We all count offense first. And then you may count defense and see a guy come on. One tip that I learned is lead in this situation on a slow break. While my two partners are counting the offense, I'm counting defense. Because really on a slow break, there's not much else to do. I might go by the box here initially, kind of come up a little more. We don't want to be all the way GLE if the players are up here. We could kind of move up a little more. But I'm counting defense to make sure they don't run an 8th guy over, including the goalie. On a fast break, we don't have as much luxury as far as stopping at the cone. If you're single, you're just going to go. You're going to go with the person carrying the ball. Trail, again, you're still stopping at the cone, at the first cone at the box. Another tip, I kind of like to go to the box usually, but if I have a crazy coach over there who's not happy, I'm going to stay at the wing line, if not further away, because nothing good's going to happen if I go over there. So I just try to stay away at times, but usually I would go to the cone at first. It's your own personal preference, what you feel comfortable with. But in this scenario, singles going with the ball carrier, lead's got the goal. And a lot of times here, you'll see a shot, a contested shot. Lead may have to run to the end line to see who's closest to the ball. And as Bob mentioned on the restart, we'd like to get lead back to GLE if possible. But if not, singles got to crash in at GLE to make sure that that goal is covered. In this scenario, the ball carrier is bringing the ball toward the wing line. He's going under. We have a flag down situation here. We have a defender. We'll say the defender in blue / red. Flag down. The defender's going out. We have a dead ball. The ball is out of bounds. The ball has been picked up by the defensive team. And another pet peeve of mine, if I'm a lead, I'm telling Trail, we got blue 34 slashed him. 34 slashed him. So Trail's going to report. I'm picking up my flag. If I'm single here, I'm telling the guys, hey, red, bring the ball out here. And I'm counting guys and saying, goalie, the ball's right here, single side, side right or whatever, side left, side right in this case. And the minute Trail reports and puts his hand down, looks, we should have the field ready to go as fast as possible. Lead and single can set this up while the Trail's reporting to keep the game moving. And if a coach is going crazy about a call, the fastest way to stop him from going crazy a lot of times is to start the game again. So the faster we start the game, and I don't want to be super fast, but I want to be sort of organized, sort of an organized fast, as I say. We could get the game going faster and kind of keep him at bay and also keep the game moving, keep a good flow to it. One thing to mention too, when you report the penalty, it's C note, that's color, number, offense, time, and explanation if needed. A lot of times you don't need the E, but a lot of times, hey, blue 32 slashing 1 minute, cracked him on the head. It might add a little credence to you. It's your own personal style, what you want to do, and what you feel comfortable with. Sometimes you want to add it if you think it adds a little more. If it sells your call a little more, feel free to add it. So let's hope we don't have this situation, but if we ever have a fight. If I'm Trail here, the first thing you want to do is freeze the bench. You're blowing your whistle as much as you can. Single and lead are running toward this flight potentially. Single, keep blowing. Everybody should be blowing their whistle as much as possible. Lead should be preventing other people from joining this fight as much as possible. I personally wouldn't get in the middle of a fight. I've heard stories of people getting sued. I definitely wouldn't put my hands on anybody. I actually had to play a few years ago in a game at Lake Forest where there was a fight, and the Lake Forest coach looked at me and said, "Are you going to do something about this?" I said, "No, you could do something about it if you want to." And he didn't really appreciate that, but that's the way we're going, guys. We live in a litigious society, so I'm not putting my hands on anybody to stop anything. But we can blow our whistle. Trail could freeze the benches. A lot of times they blow my whistle. I'll give the 2-hand stop sign to sort of freeze the bench, and lead can assist by making sure nobody else joins his fight. And I'll also get numbers of the 2 people who are fighting to enforce the penalty, which probably should be an ejection. And this is all stuff I talked about. And that's it. I know I went through that pretty quickly. Questions? I'm always open for questions offline. Feel free to email me or give me a call. I would love to help any way I can. But that's 3-man, and it makes you wonder why we don't do every game with 3-man. But of course we can't. But it's a game changer. So that's all I got, Bob, Tom, Jeremy.
Excellent. Thanks, Nitin. Any questions? Anybody wants to get to the basketball game?
That's what I
Okay.
figured, Bob.
Quickly, if you weren't on when we started, I am going to send the list down to IHSA tomorrow. You don't get a clinic sticker number this year. I send your name and IHSA number down to IHSA, and she will put it all in the system. If I send it in, it takes her a couple of hours depending on what's going on. She's not in the office every day of the week, so I would say within a couple of days you will have clinic credit. We are going to do a review of the IHSA test next week at 7 o'clock. The level 1 classes are done, so we're going to use the 7 o'clock slot to review the questions on the test. Hey Tom, when does the IHSA test close?
I'm not sure because they keep changing it. Somebody said they thought it was the 20th of
Okay.
April.
Oh. I don't think it closes at all this year, does it?
Here, I'm logging in right now. I'll let you know.
Take the test. It takes off the deadline date, so I'm not positive because I already took the test.
Okay.
What did you get, Tom?
What do you think? I wrote the damn thing.
Yeah, but your
No,
questions are
no,
jacked up. They're confusing, so that's why I wondered.
Hey, Nitin, are you in your penthouse?
Yeah, things have been pretty good in the officiating world. So yeah,
Making those big lacrosse bucks.
those $30 5th grade basketball games are paying off really well.
Real quick, it will be a different link next week because we're going to open it up to all GLOA members. So I will send the link out probably tomorrow or Monday for the test, level 1 test review. We just ask that you have the test done ahead of time so we can kind of share. I mean, we'll ask different people to volunteer what they answer for the 32 questions that are on the test. So I'll send that out. Bob, anything else to add before I stop recording?
I've got nothing.
Download that test.
What's up, Matt?
We go to the IHS website and download that test, right?
Yeah, you can go. You can go to the IHSA website and you'll see where it says Part 1 exams, and it'll say take test. But you click on take test, and then it'll give you a chance to download it prior to.
Okay.
So, a copy of this will be put up on the website of this meeting next week. Will the test review be recorded? I mean,
Probably should not do that.
Yeah, it's probably better to be here in person or call and join. You can join through a phone call if it's available. So, all right, I'm going to stop this recording.